YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back, and I'm doing a video I enjoy doing every single year here. It's my favorite prospects. My guy, there's going to be quite a few of the guys, but we'll leave the best for last. And as you can see by the thumbnail, 2017, my guy was Alvin Kamara. He was 16th overall on my board. Really liked him at Tennessee. Was always confused why they weren't using him more. And I had him in first-round mocks. People ripped me for it, so... and then 2018, Jesse Bates was my guy out of Wake Forest. As soon as I put on the tape, I knew he was a first-round talent, number 2 safety behind Derwin James. But he went second round to the Bengals, so that was a good pick. He had a heck of a rookie season. So what I try to do here is I try to find guys that aren't top-tier guys, aren't a lock, a guy that guys that I'm higher on than pretty much everybody else. Kamara was pretty much my one and only guy. I liked other people in that draft, but 2018, I really liked Tremaine Edmonds too, but he was an obvious top pick. I was higher on him than most, but I was in the ballpark, So we'll go over a few guys here, but again, trying to get the guys that are outside of the round one, lock area there. So we'll break them down in a second. A few more videos to get to before the draft, final mock drafts, trade scenarios, and then during the draft, we'll be live April 25th. We start a little earlier than the draft does, and we'll be live throughout the draft right here on YouTube. Predicting each pick when teams are on the clock. We'll give our reaction analysis at the end of day one. I'll give my 3 best picks of the day. We'll also have videos post live stream talking about the biggest winners. So the teams with multiple picks you expect to be in that video. And then our subscriber goal is at 20K. There's our Twitter in the bottom right. Click the like button, notification button. Much appreciated. But let's start with the quarterback. I had to squeeze a quarterback in here. I'm not way higher on him than everybody else, but I had to put a quarterback in here, and it's the guy I got a feeling about. It's Drew Lock. So for every one of these guys, I'll have some best fits on the right. My goal isn't to try to put a team up there that I think he'll go to. It's just the teams I see, as best fits for the most part. So Drew Lock. Not much of a difference between me and pretty much everyone else, but I think he has that it factor. I kind of covered that in other videos. You don't see it too much. I think he should be the second quarterback off the board, and I think he will be the third. He definitely could still be the second before Haskins, or maybe he's even the fourth with Daniel Jones. Very interesting, but Locke is a guy that makes me get up out of my seat when I watch him. I use that a lot. I want that to happen when watching quarterbacks, but pretty much any player, and I just think he's got that it. Sometimes you can't really explain it with quarterbacks. Sometimes you just seen it. I've seen it in Mahomes, Watson, Cam Newton. Is Locke as good as those guys? No. But I think he can play in the NFL. He could struggle early. And him, for everybody else, it's pretty much clearly Murray, and then it's pretty much Haskins, then Locke. For the most part, and then Murray's it seems like by a landslide. If anybody's close, it's Haskins. For me, I do like Haskins, but it's very, very tight at the top between Murray and Locke. I actually had Locke number 1 for a little while, but since it's so close, the thing I kept saying to myself is I'm thinking of a good defense. If I had a pretty good defense, even an average defense, which one would I not want to play? And that's Kyler Murray, and that's really what separates them. But Drew Lock's deep ball is beautiful. He does need to be a little more accurate in the short throws, the intermediate throws. But I like Lock. He had some really good throws this year, some NFL throws. So those are the teams I like for him. And all those teams really can grab him in the first round. The unlikely ones are towards the bottom. I can see him behind Rodgers and the Packers. Don't think they do it. People compared him to Stafford. I see some similarities, but I'm not huge on comparisons. And the Chargers, I can see him being the future there. If he somehow got close to them, they're not going to trade way up to do it. But really, I think the best fit, there's 2. The Redskins and the Broncos. I think he's a John Elway type quarterback. I think he's a Jay Gruden type quarterback. The Giants are a wild card team, but I think Locke and Shermer's offense makes sense. I guess it's up to Gettleman, it seems like, and the Dolphins can end up with him too, and I can see him fitting in there. So Locke, he's not my number 1 quarterback, but I had to throw a quarterback in here. Let's go on a running back sleeper here. Tre Williams, he's my number 3 running back, so I'm pretty much higher on him than everybody. I like him round 3. If he went round 2, I wouldn't hate it. But I think he'll go round 4. I think he could even go round 5. Doing what he did in the SEC, the quickness, the vision, the speed, home run hitter. He's really got it all besides size. But It's not something that really matters in today's NFL, especially for the running backs. You know, the first step is to get a guy that hits the hole and hit the hole quick. He can see the hole, hit the hole quick, and he can do that. So there's a lot of teams here that I think he fits on. Teams that need running backs, teams I can see him in, and some teams that already had visits with him. You know, I really like the Bucks for him. You know, that's really one that stands out to me. Maybe they'd rather give Ronald Jones a go there. Yeah, so there's the teams I think he fits the best. But yeah, he's my number 3 running back. So I am a little higher on him than everyone else. I think he's a safe back. You know, maybe he can have an impact like Phillip Lindsay, who was undrafted last year, but, you know, similar size, you know, home run hitter, pretty quick, good vision. He can have a similar impact if given the chance. It's always about the chance they get. I have another running back on here. There's a couple other running backs I consider they'll be in the honorable mentions, but Darren Hall's another one. People are not talking about Darren Hall. Very good size back, and he ran a 4.4 at the pro day, and he reminds me a lot of DeMarco Murray, the way he runs, but he's faster than DeMarco Murray. And you know, somebody else part of our channel, Picks Compete, he's on board with that comparison too. And we're really not big fans of comparisons. I think people force comparisons sometimes, and they get kind of lazy with it. So I only do, you know, ones that I feel good about. And I think he's faster than Murray, but just some of his running styles, you know, reminds me of him. I think he should be a round 4 guy, you know, because I think he's an every down back. I think he has the speed to be an early down back, but he's definitely a short yardage guy at the same time. I think he should go round 4, but he'll probably go 5 or 6. I'm not hearing much, but I'm sure some teams will see what I see here. The Raiders definitely can use a back. They may just want to wait on one. They don't want to value one possibly. If they can value one, it'd be Josh Jacobs. The Eagles need a back like this for the future. The Panthers don't have a back like this really at all behind McCaffrey. The Vikings lost Latavius Murray. I can see some similarities between them. I kind of always thought Latavius Murray and DeMarco Murray actually had a similar style, you know, running style, but so I can see the Vikings getting him as their number 2. The Bengals could definitely use another number 2 there. And the Cowboys behind Zeke, Buccaneers, Falcons, Jags, kind of discuss some of those teams with Trevion Williams too. But yeah, the Falcons will need a short yardage guy. The Jags are just looking everywhere for running backs because they're not sure what the deal with Fournette. I would like for them to, and I think they will, keep going with Fournette. But Darren Hall is definitely a sleeper here. Not enough talk. I got 3 receivers total on the video. We're going to talk about 2, and then we'll go to defense perhaps. Stanley Morgan Jr. I like him a lot. I got him in round 2. I think he'll probably go round 4. You know, receivers may get pushed back. Talking about only 1 or 2, maybe 3 will go in the first round now. So I got to push them all back. Stanley Morgan is a safe pick to me. He can run routes. He knows how to get open. He can catch. He's good after the catch. It really doesn't wow a lot. You know, it's not like the first round guys. So I guess that's why people aren't talking about him. I like Michael Thomas as somewhat of a comparison. I think he can bring that style impact. People like to compare Calvin Harmon, Michael Thomas. I like Stanley Morgan, Michael Thomas. Can run routes anywhere on the field, can get open, pretty strong, you know. So I like Stanley Morgan. There's some teams I really like him on. So we'll see if one of those teams end up with him. You know, quite a few teams that definitely could use a receiver there, and those are teams that, you know, may pass on the receiver in the first round at the same time. You know, not really a guarantee to take one in the first round. So Stanley Morgan definitely makes my list, no doubt. Another receiver is Greg Dortch, and the reason he's not getting talked about a lot is because it didn't work out at the combine, and he's about 5'8", so he's pretty small, but he's really shifty. He's so shifty, can play in the slot, can play outside, has super good speed, definitely 4.4 speed. And I was disappointed going to the combine because I thought he could have put in the 4.3s even. Great hands, does a great job tracking the ball for a shorter receiver, and he's a hell of a punt returner, kick returner as well. So you're going to get some pretty good value down here. I think he should be a round 4 player. He fits today's NFL perfectly. I think he'll probably go round 5 or 6, most likely 5. So there are some teams that I like from there on the right. Yeah, I'm going to be very interested to see who gets Greg Dortch down there. Definitely one of my sleepers. Definitely not getting talked about enough. He is solid. Had a solid career at Wake Forest. And we're on to a defensive player. Let's go with a linebacker, Vaughn Coney. Not getting enough love. You know, every time I watch Vaughn Coney during the year, I'm saying this is a top-tier linebacker for the NFL draft. So I think he's a round 2 guy, but he'll probably go round 3. I think people they look at him, they got in their head that he's not super athletic. He's kind of a wider guy, but 4.7s is pretty good for him, and that's what he had the pro day. And he really does it all. I can't really find any weaknesses. He's not crazy athletic, but he's not non-athletic at the same time. There's really no weaknesses to him. He stops to run. He's a tackling machine. Doesn't really miss tackles. Seen him cover running backs down the field, so he really can do it all. He can blitz if you ask him to. He's not going to get a bunch of sacks or anything. So not a lot of weaknesses. A bunch of teams looking for a linebacker. I can see him fitting there on the right. So I do like Vaughn Coney. Not a lot of people talking about. I know there's even some people that have him like a day 3 guy. I think that's a little ridiculous. So Coney fits in as one of my guys this year. Now we're starting to get to my big ones, my main guys of the draft. So we had, so far we did Coney, Dortch, Morgan, Hall, Tre Williams, and Drew Lock. And I got the four that really separate themselves. So we're kind of going to go back to a position or two that we already went over, and then we'll have some honorable mentions. So one I want to throw up here for my big 4. I wish I could have made it 5. It looks a little better, but I got 4 here. Taylor Rapp from Washington. Really, no one has him as their number one safety anymore because he ran the 4.7. Not really too worried about. He's my number 1 safety, and it's not close. There's some really good box safeties. I don't really consider them true safeties. I still have Rapp ahead of them on my board. So instinctive. Instincts, the first trait I look for in defensive players, and he might have the best instincts on the field. It's not really something you can develop with more time here. It's usually they have it or they don't. You can kind of break down film, watch film, but being instinctive just happens in a matter of seconds when the offense lines up. So he's got it. He plays free safety. He'll come up in the box. He'll blitz. He doesn't miss tackles. There's a lot to like about him. I think he's a safe pick, even though people are freaking out that he ran the 4.7. He ran 140 at the pro day, and that's what it ended up being. I'm not worried about it. Wish it was faster. A lot of teams he can fit up there. I think he should be a round 1 lock, but he's not going to be. He might be a round 2 guy just because the 40 teams might get scared, but he's a day 1 starting safety. I really like Jesse Bates last year. I guess there's some similarities here. Jesse Bates a little better, deeper, but Rapp maybe a little better tackler. So I do like Rapp in the first round for sure, and he's one of my top guys of this draft. And think about the Cowboys. If the Cowboys don't have a first round pick, if they somehow get Taylor Rapp with their second round pick, that'll be just unreal. So it's something that kind of popped in my head, and I think it's somewhat realistic. But he also can go late first. Looking at the Chiefs, it could be a possibility, depending on what they want to do exactly with Tyrann Mathieu. Could be going with a little bit of interchangeable safety duo there. So some teams that he really fits up here. It wouldn't shock me. Obviously, it wouldn't shock me. Maybe some other people if he went late first still. Moving on to one of my top guys here. It's Sean Bunting, cornerback from Central Michigan. Really no weaknesses, but for him, maybe that he plays weaker competition. Can he be as physical, impress with the NFL, going from MAC receivers to NFL receivers? So that's a question mark, but there's really no weaknesses. He can press, he's physical, he's smart, he can play in zone, he's athletic. Look at him at the combine, very athletic. It shows up on tape, deep balls. He'll go up to the highest point and attack it before the receivers can get there. I think he should be a lock in the second round, and he very well could go second round still, but I think most likely he can go 3. But some teams, definitely may like him enough to go 2. He's early 2 for me. So there's some teams up there. I really like the fit of the Giants. There's a lot of teams that he fits, but to me, the Giants are definitely one that stands out. I think Vic Fangio and the Broncos will like him too. Some other teams, really need corners up there, so they could be the best fits there. So definitely like Sean Bunting, definitely one of my top 4 my guys of this year. I got 2 more, and I said I didn't really want a first-round guy, but this guy actually might not be a first-round guy, and it's Nikhil Harry. He's my number 1 receiver. I think he can do it all. The best contested catcher, best in the middle of the field in the draft, best hands in the draft, very good blocker. He might be the best blocker out of the receivers in the draft too. You can give him the ball in different ways: screen passes, slant, post, everything, streak. People say he struggles to get separation. I think most of those people are just exaggerating a little much. They're getting a little too carried away there. He doesn't separate like a Marquise Brown, AJ Brown. But he can get separation. He does have solid footwork, and he improved over time. So Nikhil Harry is my favorite receiver, and it sounded like he could drop a little bit. I just don't see him. I kind of rounded off the number there, but top 40, I just really don't see him getting out of there. The Niners pick somewhere down there in the second round. I don't know if he gets by that point. But he should go top 15. Looking at the Redskins up there, I would take him, if I'm the Redskins. So I really like Nikhil Harry. I want him to be my number one guy here, but, even there's a lot of people that still have number one receiver. I don't think most people do, but there's still people that think he should be a first round receiver. I think there will be at least a couple teams that will have him as a first round receiver, maybe their number one receiver. So it's not crazy that I have him this high. So is he my number one guy? I guess these top four guys are all pretty even for me, but the guy that I'm all for here is Jermaine Pratt from NC State. He's my number 3 linebacker, and the two top two guys may be elite linebackers, Devin White, Devin Bush, and I want to squeeze this guy in first round, but the first round grades are just the polished guys ready to roll pretty much, and really not too many concerns. He's very early round 2. He's borderline for me. That's how much I like him. I don't think anyone has him anywhere near that. Has recently switched from free safety to linebacker and does struggle sometimes to take on blocks. That's because he made the switch. He just put on the size, but with time, there's no question for me he'll be able to figure it out. So maybe not as polished as some of the first round guys, but Jermaine Pratt is everywhere on the field. He can, the linebacker position isn't valued anymore unless you find, the guy with crazy instincts, looking at Luke Kuechly, and then the guys with that can cover downfield, or they can bring some pass rush. Everything I just described, he can be better in the instincts. Everything I just described, Jermaine Pratt has. He can cover downfield. He has production as a pass rusher. He's got experience outside and inside this year. Tackling machine. You don't see him miss many tackles. The only weakness is he just switched, and he could shed the blocks a little better. That's really the only weakness. There hasn't really been any talk about him going 2. I think he should go early 2. I think he made his way into and ran in the 4.5s in his 40, by the way, too. I think he made his way into round 3. I think there's some people out there that have him 4 or 5 down there. It's a little ridiculous. Have you not watched this guy? This is my sleeper of the draft. Maybe not. My favorite player. It's between Pratt, Nikhil Harry. I like the other guys too, Bunting, Rapp. But Jermaine Pratt in terms of sleeper. Guy that I'm higher on than everyone else, that's the guy, Jermaine Pratt. And then talking about Darius Leonard last year, as a linebacker, he can make a similar impact. We saw Darius Leonard do everything, freakish guy. Jermaine Pratt brings the same thing, So I think he can be the Darius Leonard of last year, depending on who gets him, and that applies to everybody. It depends on who gets them and what kind of chances they get. They got to prove themselves in camp and in practice to get on the field. But let's go on to some honorable mentions. Oh, and obviously I got a lot of guys there for Pratt. I think he fits a 3-4 or a 4-3. So we'll see what team gets him. Can't wait to see some honorable mentions, and maybe we'll go through some more on this. For quarterback, Jarrett Stidham. Why is he not? Why is he only on honorable mention? Because I think he'll go pretty much where everyone else thinks he'll go. I think he'll probably go around that 3rd, 4th round range. So I'm kind of on board with that. It's just, and why is he honorable mention, though? It's because he's my number 4 quarterback. I think I'm a little higher in the rankings than everyone else. He definitely needs time to develop. He needs to sit behind someone, and I'm not really usually a fan of that. But he's got a nice touch on the ball. He's got enough arm strength. He's a smart quarterback. I think his receivers kind of made him look bad at times, so I like Stidham. A couple running backs here. Dexter Williams from Notre Dame. I like him a lot. I think one of the better vision, in the class. He has good quickness and long speed too. Can break some tackles. Alexander Madison, a shorter Derrick Henry is what I see in him. Very strong and pretty athletic for him. He needs to work on his outside running game a little more, but in between the tackles, he's very strong. Knows how to hit the hole. Seen him hurdle. He has some nice moves. Hurdled some guys this past year. A lot of production there. Tight end Josh Oliver, that's another guy that just got it. You can just see with this guy that he's going to be an NFL tight end. Big body guy. I think led all tight ends in contested catches out of San Jose State here, and he can block. You just definitely see this guy as a long-term, tight end, or he'll last into some years as a tight end in the NFL here. Offensive lineman Titus Howard, Alabama State. Kind of a weird one because, I always liked Titus Howard. As soon as I seen him at the Senior Bowl, I was just really high on him. But now there's getting some talk about first round. I don't know if I would take him in the first round. So that's why it was weird to throw in here. Just most of this process, he was my guy. But I think everyone's in agreement now where he should go. So I'm not super high on him at this point. But I have liked him for most of this process. Jordan Brailford from Oklahoma State. A day 3 sleeper. He's a guy with good technique. Maybe he's a little light to play 4-3 end, but that looks like where he fits. So he actually might not get the chance because teams might view him as a 4.3 and maybe he's too light, but he has very good technique, and he just finds a way to get at the quarterback. And then cornerback Joejuan Williams from Vanderbilt. Why is he an honorable mention and not in the my guys section? Because I think he's a second-round corner, and I think that's where he'll go. So I'm not like super high on him, but when I watch his tape, he has instincts as a corner. Not too many corners have instincts. He has it. He knows how to read what the receiver's doing at the same time the quarterback. Then two safeties here. Juan Thornhill from Virginia. Freakish dude. I've been talking about he's a borderline first, second-round guy, and he could sneak in there. And now all of a sudden we're getting reports that that's what he is. So I thought I kind of said that first. I like the Byron Jones comparison. Guy that could be a top 5 corner in this class and being my number 2 safety at the same time. And he can come up and play in the box. So he can do a lot, and that's why he's on here. Will Harris from Boston College, safety. I'm just higher on him than pretty much everyone else. I think he's a 3rd, maybe a 4th round guy. Most people are, around that round 5 range. So I like him. There's not too many complete safeties guys that can help in the pass game, the run game. I think Harris can do so. So they made the list. Maybe some first round guys. This is more of a sleeper video, but some first round guys that I really, really like. I mean, there's a long list of them. Jawan Taylor from Florida. I think I'm a little higher on him than everyone else. He's a dominant right tackle. Dexter Lawrence is just soaring up my board lately just because we already know he's an elite run stopper. And I think he has the pass rush in him. People talk about he doesn't have it. I think he has it in him. He got 7 sacks freshman year. He's had some, not as many sacks, but some sacks and pressure over the next 2 years. I think with the right coaching staff, they can get that out of him. Kind of reminds me of Akeem Hicks from the Bears, who was elite this year. So I do like Dexter Lawrence, maybe a little more than everyone else. I really like this receiver class. I've gone over that plenty of times. Montez Sweat. I think I'm a little higher on Montez Sweat. I have Josh Allen ahead of Nick Bosa. So, yeah, I'll get you guys a link to my big board. We have the position rankings ready to go for the draft, so you can see who I'm higher on than the rest. But that's my guys' video. Hopefully I have another good year with this. It's been working out. But, yeah, that's going to do it. Again, final videos, final mock drafts before the NFL draft hits. And then we'll be live during the NFL draft. And hopefully you can join us for that. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Thanks for your support. It's been great. That's going to do it for this video. Goodbye.